Finding success on your own terms, I wanted to share with you a couple of statistics that I went and found from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. So, growth of female business ownership in Australia has grown by 46%. I don't think we're going to be too surprised about that. There's been a massive growth of women in business. I did a poll before Christmas, and it was very clear. I asked women in business across my network, what did you want in your business? More customers, bigger turnover, better systems, support. And support was the 60% response, which I found really intriguing and interesting. And that's what Women's Network Australia is here about. So I just wanted to share that with you that, for us, we want to support the growth of women in business in Australia, and if we can take it globally, but also that we recognise and understand that women in business are looking for support. And support will be different from one person to the next, but it was really clear. Sure, we want more customers, better profit, turnover, and I know Nikki's that speaks to this, not necessarily about changing expenses, but improving your turnover, but also, let's manage the expenses better. And that's a whole other topic that we can talk about. So what I love is that what we're looking to do in Wisdom Well is to speak to the support that we're going to be providing to members and the community of women in business. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to define success on your own terms, because that's really important, as Cheryl said. Align your goals with your values, create a clear vision for 2025 so you can have a life of purpose and freedom. Who doesn't want that? I know for me, that would be an amazing outcome for me. So let me just give you a little bit more about who I am and why the heck I'm doing this. So I've delivered over 1,000 webinars over the last 3 years. There's probably more than that because I did a bucket load during COVID. Navig8Biz secured a lot of funding, and we supported about 10,000 businesses during COVID, and we used webinars. Zoom, took off then, which is the platform we're in. I'm a business owner of over 20 years. I have launched over 17 companies. I have built a business to 30 million in 24 months, but I also liquidated that business. So there was a lot of lessons in those two journeys. I'm an author, co-author, creator of programs, courses. I can't tell you how many vet qualifications I've written in the business and finance field. I'm a business resilience mentor, and as Cheryl said, I'm a WNA ambassador and partner, as well as in other business organisations. So just to share a little bit of credibility about who I am and how this has come about. So defining success, I will often have this conversation with my clients who are women in business, and they either have not defined what success looks like for them, or I will say to you the success metric that they've got in their head and often not articulated in paper or shared with anybody, in my mind, is way too small. And the risk that we have of being in business is remaining small. And so when I'm the business mentor with a little bit of no BS. So bear with me on here. So when people say to me that they want to achieve X, Y, Z, and I say, what would it look like if you added some zeros to that? They get a bit nervous and worried. But when you have a larger success goal and you can reverse engineer it and do it step by step, with little pieces, little bite-sized learnings along the way, or goals or activities, you'd be surprised how much you can achieve. But I would say to you, if you haven't articulated or jotted down what success looks like for you, are you just hoping and dreaming that something might happen? Or because, for me, and I would suspect for a lot of you, if it's just a dream and it's not written down, if it's not articulated, if it's not defined, if you don't have metrics associated with it, we can be just scattergunning our activities without a lot of solid outcomes. So let's look at what success might look like. So what is success? It goes beyond titles. I'm sorry, there's lots of words here. I'm not going to read it at you. But it's more than just job titles. It's more than just some alignment. And often as women in business, and I'll focus on that because that's the audience, is that we are often influenced by what's going on around us. We often speak to our friends and colleagues about our business. We ask for feedback, but I would say to you, what's the credibility of that person that you're asking? And so when you haven't actually worked out what success means for you. Like when I talk about what my success metric is, I can taste it, I can feel it, I can hear it, I get goosebumps, and it makes me a little bit not fearful but excited because it's big, right? It's big. I can picture myself in a stadium with thousands of women. I'm celebrating that I've scholarshiped my programs to 1,000 women, and I've given a grant to 100 businesses in the year to help them build their business. I know when I get to that point, I have the success metric that I want. I've got KPIs to it, it's measurable, all those sort of things. How long is it going to take me? Well, it could take me 10 years, could take me 20 years. But I've actually defined it and I visualize it, I think about it, I share it with people. Those people might have heard me say this before. It's not a news story by any means, and I've got a picture of it and I've got a picture of it in my mind. It's something that keeps me going. And when we have crappy days, because we all get crappy days, it's what picks you up and keeps you going. It's what gets you picking up the phone again to make that phone call to a prospect. So let's explore this a little bit further. The steps to defining success. You have to reflect on what success dimensions you're looking for. So for some people, it could be that you want to have a team. It could be that you want more locations. It could be that you want to exit or sell your business by a certain time. It could be that you want to franchise it, list it on the stock exchange. It could be that you want to license it out. It could be to have a certain number of customers. It could be a certain turnover or a certain profit. The success metric is relevant to you. And as I said, this is super, super unique. So what you need to do is work out what is that? What do you have currently? Do they connect with the goals that you should have defined for your 2025? And then write a statement about that articulates that for you. So 3 little steps. What is it that you want? What are you doing now? And do they align with your current goals? And then write a statement. So the statement could look like, it could be many things. So I've got to suggest it, and it is in your workbook. I feel successful when whatever that is, because it aligns with my value of whatever your core values. So here's an example. I feel successful when I can work 4 days a week, spend weekends with the family, and still grow an income because it aligns with my value of freedom and balance. You might go, that nails it for me. I love that. Wouldn't we all want to be able to do that? Mine doesn't look like that, but that's okay. But this hopefully gives you just a place to start, right? A place to start that sometimes we just get stuck with the starting. Well, how do I talk about it? How do I think about it? I remember I was working with a client of mine and she was an accountant and she said to me her goal was, she was an accountant in Brisbane and she wanted accounting practices. I think she wanted another 3 practices in Southeast Queensland. And I said, what would it look like if you added a 0 to that and had 30? Whew. I said, so what is stopping you from thinking about the bigger piece, right? 3 as to 30, let me tell you, as a person who's built a pretty large business, the foundations of 3 is not too much different to the foundations of 30 because you need systems, you need automation, you need standard operating procedures, you need a team. And maybe you just need more of those people. And she said, it frightened me at first, but she said, I started thinking about it and I went, she said to me, wow, I'm really excited about this. Because she said, now I can go Australia-wide. I said, of course you can. How cool is that? Another example, I was speaking to a lady and she created a foundation where she wanted to buy land that had been denigrated by mining and farming and all those sort of things. And I said to her, so what's your goal? How many kilometers of land or acreage or whatever do you want? She gave me a number. And I said, what if you added some zeros to that? And she went, oh, I hadn't even thought about it. And I said, and so where would this be? Well, just in Australia. And I said, well, what about globally? What stops you from buying businesses land globally and making a really bigger impact? And she said, oh my God, I hadn't thought about going that big. Again, as I said to her, the foundations of what you put in your business enables the scaling, and everybody's going to be different. And I don't think she decided to go global because, it's a big expense to buy land. But she had a goal, but it wasn't big enough, and it was a goal that just made her feel safe. And sometimes I think that level of safe is actually where it's dangerous because you're not thinking big enough. There's some metrics through the Australian Bureau of Statistics that suggest that business owners that have a turnover of less than 200,000 are at the highest risk of failure. And so that's why I talk a lot about scaling. It's not about being a $30 million business or a 100 million or listing or anything. It's getting to the point where it's sustainable and it can give you the lifestyle that you want, and it gives you the goals that you need and the impact that you choose, but also is building income and profit, equally important as income, profit consistently to give you the lifestyle that you desire and to manage all the expenses and so on. So everybody's going to be super different. Your scaling and your level of success might be just to get a team of people where I outsource my bookkeeping, my marketing, and my data, managing my data and customer experience. That could be your level of success, and that's cool as long as it's sustainable and you're generating sufficient income to keep the business going. So hopefully this statement just gets the thought processes going of what success looks like for you. As I said, everybody's going to be different and they're all valid. So as I said, mine's a great big stadium with full of women. I've made a huge impact. That's big. And Cheryl's might be to take over the globe with Women's Network Australia and call it Women's Network globally, and she's making an impact across the world. There's nothing to stop her to do that, right? Everybody's going to be super, super different. And I guess the thing that is really important to me is you actually think about it and you articulate it and you share it. So when I come up with this, and for larger businesses that I've had where I've had 100 staff, I always share the vision of the business, where it's going, what success looks like, what I expect from the team. Because when you define this and you do build a team and you share these things with them, it helps you to hold them accountable to the values and the purpose of the business, which we're going to talk about next. It's a great tool to hold people accountable who are working in your business. And this is just a starting point. So here's some thoughts. How would you define success if you weren't influenced by societal or industry norms? In what ways does your current business journey reflect your personal aspirations? Are you proud of what you're building, and does it align with your vision for your life? I don't need an answer now. These are just thoughts, and there's room in the workbook for you just to put some ideas down, and we can definitely talk about it when we get to question time. But it's just things to get you thinking about what success looks like for you. So we need to align the goals with your values. So we've worked out what the goals or the success metrics look like. How do you define the values? I've done this exercise so many times in various businesses I've owned and businesses that I've worked with and companies that I've consulted to. I really enjoy the exercise of including the staff and the team in your values creation. Because when you include your team, you have them coming along with you on a journey, that you can hold them accountable to it, all those things. So your values need to be value-based leadership. Build your business and career by leading with integrity and aligning decisions with your core values. Recognize the trade-offs. What's negotiable, what's not negotiable, and values as a compass, as a guide to who you work with. I've said no to businesses when I've got a sense that their values don't align with mine. And it's okay to say no. A lot of us go, I don't want to lose that perceived opportunity with somebody. And as the ladies who know me, I'm a huge collaborator. I will collaborate with as many people as I possibly can because that's my success metric and helps me to achieve my goals in my business. But I've said no to more people than I've said yes. I will tell you that because I know what's negotiable. It allows me to say no, but it also allows me to say yes. So it's a really, really good exercise to articulate it. So how do we do it? Reflect on best moments. Think about the time in your business when you felt completely aligned, proud of what you did, energized and fulfilled. Where did you lose time? Write it down. This is in your workbook. You can look at that and have a go. Identify the themes. Look at a situation that you described and identify common themes of qualities that stood out. Was it about helping others, creating impact, innovation, collaboration? And what do these values represent? So there could be some examples, and we've all heard them on many corporate walls. You walk in and there's a whole bunch of lovely statements on a wall, which a lot of the staff have no idea what they mean, which is why I say it's really important to bring your staff on that journey to create them. integrity, creativity, etc. A lot of people like to suggest that you should limit it to 3 or 5. Look, you do the list that works for you. I think I've got about 6. And what works for me. So everybody's going to be slightly different. But do try not to be vanilla. Like a lot of people have got honesty and truth and all those sort of things. They're lovely, lovely words, but do they actually align with what you're about and what your business is? Is there a word that would reflect it better for you? So test the values. Would you be proud to share these publicly? Do these values guide you in your decision-making decisions? Does it allow you to say yes or no? Are these reflected in how you run your business daily? Do you turn up with these values loud and proud as you do your work and interact with people? It's just a quality checking for yourself. I do love going to the next level though. Add action words. What does it mean to be authentic? What does it mean to provide empowerment, innovation, integrity? These are just some ideas because I think we can all just have words, but we don't necessarily articulate what does it mean. What does it mean when I engage with Women's Network Australia? What does it mean when you engage with Joanne and I? You know, one of my values is there's no BS. You won't get BS from me. I'm not going to fluff it, but I will give you honest feedback and guidance and support. For me, that's super important. I will do it in a gentle way, but it's super important to me, right? So I think it's just a nice way to extend the traditional way of talking about your values, a doing word and a statement about what it means for you. And do you show it? Do you share it? You know, we've all seen, as I mentioned before, we've all seen these large corporates. You walk in a big building and there's a whole bunch of words on a wall or on a website, and you ask a staff member, what does that mean? And they go, oh, I actually don't know. I know I worked for a business a few years ago, and we were defining our values, and we had all these flip chart paper all over the wall with what we thought might be our values. We decided to leave them there. I think it was it was a period of time, might have been 2 weeks. So we put the values up with the action words, and we said to everybody, cross out a word or change it or do whatever you need to do to it so we can come to a consensus as to what those values will be. We did that. We came up with some amazing values and action statements. They changed a reasonable amount, but my golly, it built such a wonderful culture in this business of everybody contributed to it. They understood what it meant. And you could hear them holding each other accountable to the values if you saw some behavior slipping up, but it also helped them to engage with our customers in a more authentic way. It was such a beautiful experience. And we would take an entire day, we'd shut the business down and we would work on these exercises. It was a really important thing for us to do every year. So they need to align with your business goals. So we've spoke about what do your success look like. Do they add to your goals? So for example, value is empowerment. The action, we offer mentorship programs for female entrepreneurs. Does that align? If this was mine, absolutely it does. Ensure transparency in pricing and communication with clients. I said, there's no BS from me. You will hear precisely what I'm about. And as I said, please do not put the values in a piece of paper in a drawer that you never think about again. If you go to my website, I'm happy to show you. I have mine on my website. I don't know how many people go and look at it, but it's there loud and proud. It's on my one-page business plan. It is everywhere. I share it with my accountant, with my advisory board. My business plan has gone out to a whole bunch of people in the last week or so to say, this is what I'm aiming to do this year. And it has my values on it. And they haven't changed too much, but I do review them. Do they feel right? Is there a better word that I can come up with moving forward? This is all about working on your business, which we have to make a conscious decision to step out of our business to do it on the business. So hopefully that's useful. As I said, please don't keep them a secret, share it. And I would love after this workshop and you filling this in, please, if you're comfortable to do it, share it in the Facebook group. Share it with us. Like it's a trusted place for you to hang out. And if you want feedback, I know we can all jump in and give you some, celebrate, yay, well done. These look amazing. Or have you thought about this word or that word? Or, I might say it this way. I think, didn't I just say at the beginning of this workshop that support is what most women need in business? Utilize the Facebook group to help you do that. So aligning your values is identify them, make sure they align with your goals and adjust as need to, and then set value-driven boundaries to make sure that you stick to it. And those boundaries are, I will share it. I will use my goals and my values to decide whether I say yes or no to opportunities. As I said, it's a lovely thing to be able to say, it's an empowering thing to be able to say no, but it's also an amazing thing to be able to say yes. I can feel it. Like when it's aligned, you get the feels. And I think Cheryl and I have that, which is why we're doing this, because it feels right for me, feels right for Cheryl. And it's just it's a super great thing for us to do together. So what do we need to do then? We need to create a clear vision for 2025. So have you defined what it looks like? This picture might look a little bit weird, but it's a picture that I used in a social media post to articulate how I grew my business to 30 million. And this was a vision that I shared with large corporates. So really, really quickly, because this was important, I had to share with these people I was going to collaborate with where I wanted to take my business. So they thought of me as a little orange speedboat, and they were like the Queen Mary. They were large competitors. It was in the education space. They were enrolling 65,000 people a year. Big RTOs, big RTOs. And I was this little RTO that was doing probably 200 a month at the time, 200 students a month. But I came to them and said, I have this vision and this is what it looks like. And they actually said to me, you're like a little orange speedboat. So what they saw as the value of working with me was I could pivot, that wonderful word that I could pivot quickly because I was small, but I could also bring them extra income they hadn't thought of. So sharing my vision with the people I wanted to partner with got me 5 of those partnerships in one given time over that 24-month period and created enormous growth for our business. I had to put a lot of systems and processes, which is a whole other topic to cover, but it was me being brave enough to knock on the door of a large company and say, this is my vision, this is what I want to do, what do you think? And I used it to employ people because there were some people who wanted to work for our company that looked at it and went, whoa, that's too big, too fast. I'm a little bit scared of that. I don't think this aligns. I don't know that I want this job. No problem at all. It helped me to say yes or no in securing suppliers, customers, staff. Sharing the vision is a super important piece. As I said, it helps you to make confident decisions. You can separate. It's not that you want to separate your personal to business aspirations, because what you achieve in business will help you to achieve your personal aspirations. But it does need, you can put a line between the two, because the consequence of great growth enabled me to do the things I wanted to do with my family, travel, properties, all those sort of things. Plan with purpose, balance the ambition with intention, and remain adaptable. That's super important, which is why they said I was a little orange speedboat, because I could do this business. I could shift and change, but still stay rooted to the bigger picture for where the business needed to go. So, steps to your 2025 vision: craft a vision statement, put it together, share it with the Facebook group. Let us help you refine that for you, or quality check that yep, that sounds just like you, Sarah. I can see it, I can picture it, well done. Or can we think of a better way to say it? Identify key milestones for 2025 that will help you to move closer. So what I talk about is reverse engineer. So you might have a goal. I've got a certain goal of how many clients I want in certain programs, how many consulting clients I want, how many MBA students I want. I know those numbers. So I look at what does 12 months look like, and then I do what is called reverse engineer. Well, what have I got to do by December, November, March, end of January? By the end of this week, what do I have to do today? So you break it backwards so that you do a little something each day, you'll be able to achieve your 2025 vision. And if a vision board is what works for you, I create a one-page business plan is what works for me, that represents your ideal 2025. And then for goodness sake, please do share it. Put it in the Facebook group so people can see it and go, wow, this looks amazing. So your thoughts about this is, what does your ideal business and personal life look like in 2025? Looking at the time. Yeah, cool. Key changes you might need to do to align that trajectory, and how will you celebrate this vision and who will you share it with? This is super, super, super important for us. If I can share with you, when we were building this very large company, we celebrated wins by putting 1% of our turnover, not profit, turnover, into a fund account. And we said to the staff, we will spend it every year. So the last event that we did was we took 70 people to Alaska on a cruise to celebrate the milestones achieved for the year before. Now that was huge. The first one we did was a picnic with 6 people, but we built to that, right? But it built an amazing culture in our business because people wanted to be involved in those celebratory events. And we said to the team, we will spend this money. The fund account is to spend the money. So what can you do to celebrate it? Can you put 1% or 0.5% of your turnover into an account and say, when I get to the end of 25 and I've done this, this is what we're going to do. And if I could share with you one piece of advice, we're all going to be working incredibly hard. How many of you had the conversation with your family to say, this is what my goals are, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is my availability, and this is what we're going to do to celebrate at the end of the year because I've had that. So when you see me working really hard, which we all do, we work nights, we get up early, we do weekend stuff. We all do it, right? There's no point of saying, no, I don't. I never do that. I know we do. I do it. But I have had the conversation with my husband to say, this is what I'm planning on doing. This is what I'm going to achieve. And when we get there, this is what we're going to do to celebrate. I feel so many business owners, particularly women, just want to we're nurturers. We want to try and do everything, but we have to give ourselves permission to share that with our family, the kids, the husband, the wife, the whoever, the significant other, to say, this is what my plan is. This is what it's going to look like when I get there. If it's got kids, maybe we're going to go to Disneyland. Maybe I'm going to be able to go on a wonderful holiday, or we can go buy that amazing house. But this is the work that I've got to do to make that happen. I really encourage you to have that conversation with your family and your friends if you want to extend it to that, because then they can support you and lift you. And then there's no judgment going, oh, you're working late again? Or you're going to that networking meeting again? When is this going to get there? Remember, we had this conversation and this is what it's going to look like. So I can encourage you to do that. So in summary, so that we can get into question time, success is personal. It needs to be on your terms, not based on what everybody else expects. It's what is unique to you. Align with your goals, put some action items in it, do share it, and create a vision that empowers your intentional decision making and enables you to say yes, and maybe it's no and not yet. We'll do it later. But that actually it speaks directly to what you want to achieve in 2025. So that's the end of that. I just want to point out to you that we've got next month, just to quickly let you know, building resilient businesses for long-term success. So that's the topic for next month. Goodness me, sorry, ladies. And if anybody wants to connect with me, that is in the back of the workbook, but you can that goes straight to my calendar. But you can just pick up the phone if you want to just ring and ask me and say, hey, I've got this thought, or can you look at my values so I can, just quality check them. It's always good to get a third person to look at something. It's like that Word document that's got the spelling mistakes and the grammar. You just need somebody else to look at it. So that's pretty much me for now. And I'm going to stop sharing so that we can jump into question time.
Thank you, Joanne. Fantastic. And I would just reinforce pointing you all back to the workbook that you'll have, so that you can sit quietly whenever it's a convenient time and work through that process. And as Joanne mentioned, at the back, towards the back of the book, is the list of the Wisdom Wellness series and topics that we will have throughout this year, right through to December. They're listed there, and they are also up on our Women's Network Australia upcoming events webpage, which I might get Beck to just share in the chat box if you haven't already found it. We do open these events to W&A members and non-members, but we would certainly encourage you to join WNA, because we have a lot of other things that we will do and supporting resources that will be going on our website. For example, the recordings and the workbooks that will sit there for these and other sessions that we do. So if you're not familiar with Women's Network Australia, hopefully you found us and you have at least had a look at our website. This is part of our one of our 3 pillars, being lifelong learning, and this is a really important part of learning, is actually understanding your values and setting yourself up for success. Thanks, Joanne. I know there's other questions. Kath in the chat raised a really good point, and I'll invite Kath to speak to it. But Kath's an expert in her topic, but she's faced with the scenario where, yeah, everyone wants her to advocate for women's gynae health. Everyone wants her to speak, but to monetize her skills and her cause around that seems to be a real challenge. But she also makes the point that she's a little reluctant to bring that forward because, in her words, I feel some may find how business thick I am. And I think that's a real issue for a lot of us, is that we don't come forward, we don't ask for help, we don't go and set this planning exercise and do these things and share them because we're scared that people think we're stupid. So Joanne, you might want to comment on that, and Kath, you might want to also come into the conversation.
Yes, I'll be the first to say to you that this is normal. So normal, Kath. I will share with you, I started my first business in 2003. Before that, I'd been a commercial banker, so I wrote commercial finance. So I saw businesses all the time. I was asking them for business plans, cash flow forecasts, all those important foundation documents. Do you know what I didn't do for the first year? Any of that. Any of it. I'm going to say my ego got in the way and go, yeah, I've got a skill set. I can do all this stuff. And I didn't do any of my own planning. And I was very, very grateful to have a mentor who said, Joanne, what are you doing? Stop it. You know what to do. You know how to do this better. And as Becca's put into the chat, you're in the right place, Kath. This is where, like, we've got some amazing people here. Nikki is amazing at SEO, at automation. She's got a great program that supports women in building that skill capacity. I've got capacity to help the piece that you're talking about, Kath. And it's about, often we sometimes make these statements, but you know what? When you talk about something that you love and and you're really good at, that authenticity comes through. And that's what we want to draw out of you so that you can speak about that with confidence and know that you bring value. Like, I think a lot of us gals think, oh, is it really worth it? Is my story worth hearing? Absolutely, every time. Every time it's worth hearing, because you've got something that I'm sure you've got an incredible story as a survivor, and the things that that you can share with people who are going through this journey. My goodness me, I reckon you've got an amazing story to share, and it is worth monetizing. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Well, thank you for that. But I believe that this is a billion-dollar business. Gynecological health is always in the background of reproductive health. And this is not about having babies. It's about the women that suffer in silence. But if we could bring that voice forward, my story is a bit graphic for people to feel comfortable about. And, I need to try and, I don't know how to tell the truth without, without confronting people. But women desperately need this knowledge. I had a lady ring me at 6 o'clock this morning saying she had an issue. And I hear these stories all the time. And yet, I've got 10 awards. Aren't I great? Aren't I wonderful? I've just been asked by Ranscog to do an article because they don't pay. Somebody said to finish my book, it'll cost me $6,000 for somebody to do my book. And I thought, I don't have that sort of money, and I'm not getting any younger. Sorry, you pressed my button this morning, but I'm not getting any younger, and I'm desperate to put my 30 years of experience so that women can understand what I'm all about.
Yeah, I hear you, Kath. if you can put your contact details in the chat, I know a lady who does exactly what you want to do out of the US, and I will go and grab her on LinkedIn. And I would say to you, go and watch what she does, how she speaks about it, those sort of things. She's amazing, and I see her in a different networking group from the US, but I can go connect her with you on LinkedIn, and you can maybe reach out to her and have a conversation. I think what we need, you know, there's lots of people in here that I'm sure can help you. It's finding the right, and I even know a lady out of the US who will help you craft your story. And because you've got a story that's worth telling, but how do you articulate it so that it's palatable, so that you feel comfortable to share it? So I'm sure we have got people in this network, and I know people that I can connect you with, even if you just start watching them on LinkedIn and how they talk about their business. Could be a starting point, right? Also have to catch up with you separately.
I really like what Joanne said, though, Kath, around where do you want to be in December 2025? You know, putting aside all the challenges and the blockages, where do you want to see yourself in 2025, and working back from there? Because I think one of the things that we also need to realize is, even if we, you know, put it on a vision board, it's not going to drop from on high and land on top of us. It's about breaking down and creating that actionable plan, as Joanne talked about, that takes every day a step closer to reaching that particular goal. And you know, I think one thing for you is, yeah, absolutely packaging that story, but what are all the other bits that need to be done to get that story out there in a way that is financially viable? You know, you don't just want to be a storyteller, you actually want to run a business. So what are the tools? And I know you've got them, and I know you've got, you know, elements of them on the website, and it's probably just shaping that into okay, here's where we want to be. What's the financial model that sits beside it or behind it, and working back from there. And I think Joanne, perhaps you know, as part of the conversation with Kath, you could pick up some of those elements.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, thank you. But with the Gynae Awareness Day on the 10th of September, I got some amazing, there's only about 13 amazing people and organisations that have said, yeah, you know, I'm happy to do this. And I've said, will you do it again next year? Yes. And but I want to be able to sit back in December and think, wow, from this time at the moment until the Gynae Awareness Day, I need to be able to convince women's organisations, basically. But I just want to say that I walked up to the front counter of BBC TV with my quilt, and I was on Women's Hour the next week talking about vulval cancer and the Gynae Awareness Day. And I was always told by women in Australia, don't say these naughty words, and in front of ethnic people. And yet I was asked to present to 1,000 ethnic women in Kuala Lumpur for the Seroptimist International. But when I come back to Australia, I seem to have this blockage in Australia, and I don't really know what it is and why it is. And if we can break that ground, how empowering would that be for women?
Yeah.
Awesome, Kath. We love what you do.
Okay,
we'll definitely be able to take that forward and keep working with you on that. Does anyone else have any questions that they might like to put to Joanne? And if you do, just come off on mute, and you can put those questions to her. If you don't, we'll just assume that you know how to fill out the book. You're all over it. When we check in December, you should have all succeeded.
Exactly.
Lisa, I see you've come off on mute. Would you like to contribute?
Sorry, I didn't intend to come off on mute. Sorry.
That's
right.
Sorry, but thank you very much, Joanne. And
Lisa, it might be worth sharing, because I think you have succeeded very quickly in identifying where you want to be with your business, and I suspect some of these techniques you may have used these or similar techniques to get you there. Is that right?
yes, yeah, I think it always helps to reverse engineer, as Joanne said, to see the big picture and then break it down to where you want to go. I come from a very different perspective, and it's all about the frequency that we're emitting regarding our business. And often when we've got a block, it's because of the business, because of our frequency and how we're feeling about the fact that we're not getting clients, that we're not being heard, that we're not yada, 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 whatever. And until we change our frequency, nothing else is going to change. You can put all those strategies in place, and they're wonderful strategies, but if you don't deal with the energy, your frequency around it, and I get it, because we get frustrated. We're not being heard. We're not getting clients. Of course we get frustrated, but all that does is it creates more of the same. So we're not getting the results. We're just getting more and more frustration, more and more not being heard. So it's really important that we focus on getting that energy, our frequency right first, and then take responsibility for that. And it's not taking the blame, it's taking responsibility. And then we can put all these systems in place, and we'll soar, absolutely soar.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Lisa. You absolutely nailed it. Thank you. So thanks, ladies, for contributing and participating. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me, grab the link. Would love to speak to you. And I look forward to seeing you next month. And if you're not a member, go and speak to Beck or Cheryl, and I'm sure she'd love to have a conversation with you.
Thanks very much, everybody. It's really helpful. Joanne, thank you.
And please follow up with any questions that you may have. Beck will follow up with a post-event email to make sure you've got everything you need. We will obviously be adding these to the resources section. And if you're a member and you don't know how to get to that resources section, drop us a line. And Nicole's also online, Nicole Bird, our membership officer, and can reach out to you and talk you through. So thanks so much, Joanne. Here's to a year of success for all our amazing women.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Thank you, Joanne.
No trouble.
Bye now.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Beck.
No problems.